I agreed to a threesome because I thought it would save us. And for exactly 11 minutes, I believed it had. Let me rewind before you start judging. I was the fun one in our relationship, the wild one, the try-anything-once one. Brandon was quieter, more grounded at first. When we met, he was still untangling himself from a years-long relationship with someone he described as possessive, dramatic, and constantly jealous. I took that as a challenge. I was gonna be chill. You know the type. Sure, babe, take your time. I trust you. You don't have to check in every night, kind of chill. The girl who doesn't flinch when your boyfriend follows someone half-naked on IG. The one who laughs off the inside jokes he still shares with his female friends. Cool girl core, unbothered excellence, whole identity built on not being her. And it worked for a while. Brandon loved how relaxed I was. He called me refreshing. He told his friends I was emotionally evolved. And every time I swallowed a boundary, I got rewarded with affection, like I was being trained. We'd been together for 3 years when he brought up the idea. We were on the couch, half drunk on cheap sangria, watching a movie neither of us cared about. I don't even remember what triggered the conversation. A sex scene, a joke, but suddenly he said, "Have you ever thought about opening things up?" I blinked. Like an open relationship. He shrugged, not full open, just maybe a shared experience like a threesome. My stomach twisted, but I laughed, because that's what cool girls do, they laugh. Depends, I said, sipping my drink. Is it something you've thought about? He nodded slowly, like he was trying to seem casual about something very not casual. Only if you wanted to, he said. I think it could be hot, but only if we do it together. It could bring us closer. Closer. That word rang in my ears for days. Because if I was honest, we weren't close anymore. We still shared a bed, still shared meals, but there was a quiet distance growing between us. Less hand-holding, more zoning out, more nights of me staring at the back of his head, wondering what he was thinking about that he didn't say. So yeah, I said yes. Because I thought it would bridge the gap. Because I wanted him to look at me the way he did at the start. Because I thought inviting someone in might keep him from drifting further out. We started talking about it like it was a project. Who would it be? How would we find her? What were the rules? I came up with a checklist. Someone we didn't know too well, no one from our past, no one from his work, just a one-time thing, no repeat performances. Simple, right? Except it was. Because a week later, Brandon showed me her Instagram. Jess, he said, like I should recognize the name. I didn't. He said she was someone he used to chat with online but never dated. Said they'd flirted a bit years ago, but it never went anywhere. She'd recently moved to our city. They reconnected. She was open-minded and interested. He showed me her photo. Red hair, sharp cheekbones, a little too perfect. I swallowed. She's cute, I said. He looked relieved. We added her to a group chat. It started fine. She was friendly, smart, asked good questions. Didn't come off as predatory. She was the one who kept checking in on me, which made me feel like she actually respected my position in the whole thing. Honestly, she was better at making me feel safe than Brandon was. 2 weeks later, it happened. We invited her over for dinner. We had wine, we talked, we laughed. And then we went to bed. I'm not gonna give you the play-by-play. This isn't OnlyFans. What I will tell you is, it was good, no awkwardness, no jealousy. Jess was warm, attentive. She made eye contact with both of us. She asked before touching. She wasn't pushy. It was easy. And for the first time in months, I saw Brandon smile like he used to. Really smile. After, we lay tangled in sheets, and he kissed my shoulder and whispered, "That was amazing." And for a second, I believed it had worked. I thought I'd won. I thought I was the cool girl who could handle it. But that night, when I got up to grab water, I passed Brandon in the hallway. He didn't see me. He was texting. I caught a glimpse of the screen, just a line. Same time next week. My stomach dropped. I went back to bed without saying a word. Because denial is a warm place. And I wasn't ready to be cold yet. The next morning, I pretended I didn't see the text. Because the truth is never convenient when you're trying to preserve a lie you helped build. I got up early, made pancakes like some 1950s damage control wife. Jess had already left. Brandon was acting like nothing had happened. He kissed me on the cheek, grabbed coffee, and said, "Last night was wow." I nodded, smiled, said yeah. And something inside me folded in half. For a few days, everything felt fine. Better, even. Brandon was affectionate again, more talkative, more engaged. Like he'd finally gotten the hit of novelty he craved and could now settle back into our lives. But then came the signs. The little ones. A text he swiped away when I walked past. A smile that showed up on his face before he even looked at me. A notification that buzzed and made him blush. I knew that blush. I used to cause it. The final straw didn't come in fireworks. It came in laundry. I was changing the sheets that weekend and pulled back the pillowcases. There was a faint trace of lipstick on his pillow. Not mine, not red, something like rosewood. I don't wear lipstick to bed, or ever honestly. But I knew who did. I opened Instagram and went to Jess's page, scrolled through selfies, paused on one from the week before. Caption: slow mornings and long kisses. Lip color, rosewood stain. The same one. And the timestamp. 2 days after our one-time thing. I felt like I was floating. Not crying, not screaming. Just hovering outside my own body, watching this girl I used to like, this girl I let into my home, into my relationship, into my bed, look back at me through a filter and mock my entire life. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I went back through our group chat, all 3 of us. I read every message from the beginning, reread them like they were evidence, and you know what I saw? How little she ever talked to him in the group. How often she spoke just to me. How performative her concern was, just making sure you're feeling okay with everything. I'd never want to come between you two. And how coordinated it all felt in hindsight. Like she was grooming me. Like they both were. That night, I tested something. I asked Brandon if he wanted to do it again. Another threesome, maybe with someone else this time, just to see his reaction. He flinched. Not visibly, not enough for a stranger to notice. But I knew him. And it was there. He said something like, "I don't know, I don't want to cheapen what we did." That felt special. Is special. That we did. There was no we anymore. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I took his phone while he showered. Yes, I went there. And if you're reading this thinking, that's a violation of privacy, then congratulations on never being lied to for sport. His texts with Jess weren't even hidden. No fake names, no Vault app, just right there in iMessages like they thought I'd never check. Brandon. She still doesn't suspect anything. You're incredible. Jess. Well, you train me well. Brandon. Can't believe we pulled that off. Jess. Told you she'd be into it. She always wanted to be the cool girlfriend. That's the one that broke me. Not the logistics. Not the betrayal. The tone. Like I was some puppy doing tricks. Like I was a project. Like my heartbreak was the point. I took screenshots, every message. I emailed them to myself with the subject line, "Don't gaslight yourself later." And then I sat. Not moving, not breathing, just cataloging everything I'd ignored for months. How Jess laughed too hard at his jokes. How she knew what brand of coffee he liked before I even told her. How they had inside jokes before they had sex. I wasn't a participant. I was an alibi. The next morning, I made Brandon breakfast, sat across from him like nothing was wrong. Hey, I said mid-bite. Random question. You and Jess, did you know each other before we met? He blinked. Pause, smile. Not really, just online stuff. Why? I looked at him. Just curious. Because now I had the pattern. I had the pillow. I had the proof. All I needed was a plan. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't even cry. I got organized. Because if I learned anything from being the cool girlfriend TM, it's how to weaponize composure. I stopped talking to Jess. Stopped initiating anything with Brandon. Started observing. He didn't notice. Of course not. He thought I was the same sweet, submissive version of myself who once whispered, "Maybe I should kiss her first so it's less weird." Now I was done whispering. Let me tell you what I discovered in 1 week of quiet surveillance. They were never broken up. Not really. I found photos of the two of them on Brandon's cloud backup, date stamped 3 months before we ever met. There were emails, yes, emails, because apparently cheaters are lazy, that referenced our plan and waiting until she's comfortable. There was even a Google Doc shared between them. The title, Communication and Boundaries, Threesome Framework. I kid you not. They treated me like a case study. A training module. A project that required gradual exposure therapy and emotional framing. The document had bullet points like, reinforce autonomy, she needs to feel in control. Over-communicate consent, makes her feel empowered. Let her suggest it after 2 drinks. I read it 5 times. Then I printed it, bound it, highlighted it, and labeled the cover. How to break a girl in 90 days or less. It was my Bible now. And my weapon. I had no interest in fighting dirty. I wanted to fight clever. So I set a trap. I told Brandon I wanted to write a blog post about our experience, like a sex-positive reflection piece. Something for Medium or a polyamory site. I said it could help others, that we were pioneers. He lit up. You've always been such a good writer, he said. I smiled. Thanks, but I want both your perspectives. Can we do a video call with Jess and just talk it through, record it for notes? He hesitated. She's not great on camera. Then let's just voice record, I said. Just for me, for writing flow. He agreed. So did Jess. They thought they were archiving a victory lap. I was recording a confession. I asked questions like, when did you two first connect again? Was it hard to wait to introduce her to me? Did you ever worry I wouldn't say yes? Jess was the talker, she always had been. She said, we knew it would only work if you were emotionally safe. That was the priority. Brandon added, it's why we never rushed anything. I said, so when you were messaging before our threesome, that was just friendly. They both laughed. Jess said, you know how long we've been orbiting each other. You told me you hadn't spoken since college, I said. Brandon blinked, froze. Jess stopped smiling. Silence. I clicked stop on the recording. I didn't even need to say it. They knew. I had them. Later that night, Brandon came to me, red-eyed, trying to explain. Told me they didn't mean to fall back into things, that they weren't trying to replace me. We just rekindled something old, he said. You didn't rekindle it, I said. You used me to restart it. He didn't deny it. And that's when I snapped. Not loud. Not messy. Just final. I looked him in the eye and said, you two can have each other, but I'm taking the audience. And I meant it. My blog wasn't born out of empowerment. It was born out of detonation. I named it Unicorned. The tagline, Confessions from the woman who helped her boyfriend cheat on her with his ex. I didn't use their real names, not at first. But I used every detail they once thought was safe in the dark. The pink wine we drank. The playlist Brandon made. The joke Jess told about being just here for the snacks. I opened with the phrase, "I agreed to a threesome to save my relationship." Turns out, I was the starter rope they needed to ignite theirs. It went viral in 48 hours. By the end of the week, I had 120K subscribers and a Reddit thread 2,000 comments deep titled, "The Poly Scam, is this the newest way to cheat?" People begged for updates. I gave them chapters. Chapter 1, the invite that was innocent. Chapter 2, the pillow that didn't belong to me. Chapter 3, the Google Doc that made me gag. Chapter 4, the open relationship that started without me. I posted screenshots, blurred names, redacted details, but anyone who knew us, even vaguely, knew. And Jess. Oh, sweet Jess. Her Telegram circles, those niche girl boss polyritual ceremony energy bonding groups, started linking the blog too, not to support her, to warn others. Someone even made a meme out of her with the caption, "Manifested a man by stealing him mid-threesome." Iconic. Brandon tried to stay above it, told mutual friends he was hurt I would share private things, claimed it was revenge porn adjacent, even though I never shared images, just truths. He even tried emailing me directly. "This isn't who you are. Please don't let this define you." I didn't respond because I was too busy being interviewed for a podcast episode titled Unicorn Burnout: What Happens When Poly Gets Predatory. They gave me an hour, I filled 2. I read sections of the Google Doc live, paused after each point, gave commentary, called them my ex-boyfriend and his spiritual grifter. The host laughed so hard she snorted. People sent flowers, emails, art. One person even made a candle that said, "Smells like red flags and rosewood lipstick." I lit it every time I wrote a new post. And you know what? I still wasn't done. Because revenge isn't a single act. It's an ecosystem. It's nurture. So I created a limited series called The Series of Her, 7 episodes, each one detailing a different manipulation Jess pulled, each one dissecting her tactics like a sociologist studying a con artist. The intro music. An audio clip of her saying, "I'd never come between you two." Looped. Auto-tuned. Haunting. It hit 3 on the relationship podcast chart within a week. And that's when Jess finally messaged me. A long gut-spilling essay. She said she was sorry, that she didn't expect the impact, that Brandon had encouraged everything and she just wanted connection, that she didn't mean to hurt me, that she hoped we could talk. I replied, "Sure, let's talk. Episode 8 premieres Friday. You'll be the whole subject." She blocked me. Cute. Brandon didn't say a word. He moved out quietly, left a pair of sneakers and a box of tea I'd bought him on accident. I donated them to Goodwill. I didn't need relics. I had receipts. And readers. And power. And for the first time in 3 years, a bed that didn't feel like an audition. The funny thing about revenge. It doesn't end when you win. It ends when you're tired. And I was bone-deep exhausted. People still loved the blog. Still commented on every post. Still DM'd me their own stories, hundreds of women, and a few men too, writing things like, "I thought I was crazy until I read you. They told me I was jealous. You made me feel sane. Please don't stop." But that was the problem. It had become a performance. A cycle of fresh rage for fresh content. If I didn't post for 2 days, I got messages like, "Where's the next chapter?" As if I was HBO Max and trauma was scheduled TV. I wasn't healing. I was harvesting. And every click was a restab. One night, I stared at my reflection while brushing my teeth and didn't recognize my own eyes. I looked like her Jess, that shiny kind of hollow. Like someone who feeds off the story, because living outside it feels like starvation. So I stopped. No farewell post. No drama. Just stopped. I turned off the comments, paused the podcast, muted all notifications, and disappeared for a bit. I booked a week at a quiet Airbnb by the coast. Alone, left my laptop at home, packed real books, a journal, my old college sweatshirt that smelled like detergent and denial. I walked for hours, ate oranges, slept until noon, stared at birds like they were poems. It was boring. It was beautiful. And on the third day, I did something wild. I forgave myself. Not them, never them. But me. I forgave the girl who wanted to believe in love so badly, she offered up her own boundary like it was a party favor. I forgave the silence, the politeness, the cool girl facade. And I wrote her a letter. You were never broken. You were bending to be chosen. That's not weakness, that's devotion. But now it's over. You choose you. When I got back home, everything felt smaller. The apartment was too clean. My closet too curated. The mirror too honest. I started reapplying for jobs, stopped monetizing the blog, unsubscribed from my own newsletter. For the first time in years, I walked into a space without wondering if I was being watched, desired, assessed. I was invisible again. And weirdly, it felt like a superpower. That week, I ran into Jess. Of course. At a coffee shop, of course. She was alone, ordering something iced and herbal. She saw me and froze. I didn't flinch. She said, "Hey." I said, "You look good." She smiled like she wasn't sure if it was real. We didn't talk about the blog, or the podcast, or Brandon. She didn't apologize again. And I didn't ask her to. I just said, "I hope you two are happy." She blinked, "We're not together anymore." I nodded, "Huh." She paused. I think he needed someone to blame. I tilted my head, "Don't we all?" She looked like she might cry. I didn't feel bad, but I didn't feel good either. I felt done. I paid for my coffee and walked out. Didn't look back. Because some stories don't need sequels. Some wounds don't need reopening. And some endings are quieter than the chaos deserves. That night, I reopened my journal. Wrote. It didn't break me, but it unbuilt me. And now I get to choose what I become. I was halfway through a bag of stale popcorn and an early 2000's rom-com when I got the message. Not from Jess. Not from Brandon. From Netflix. Okay, not Netflix itself, but a freelance producer who worked on pitches for streaming series. She wrote, "Hi, huge fan of your blog. I know you stepped away, but I'd love to talk about rights and adaptation. This story hit a nerve. It deserves a screen." I stared at the message like it was spam. But she followed it up with a voice note. She sounded normal, young, smart, not a bot, not a scam. Just someone who saw potential in a car crash. I didn't respond for 2 weeks. Not because I wasn't interested, but because I was scared. What if I reopened everything? What if I became the girl who got unicorned forever? What if I turned into a meme again? But then something stupid happened. I got invited to a wedding. Not mine. An old friend from college. She didn't know the drama, didn't follow the blog, didn't have Instagram. She just sent me a pastel RSVP with my name on it like I was still normal. And I realized I missed being normal. I missed talking to people who didn't know my trauma before they knew my last name. So I said yes to the wedding. And yes to the producer. I met her in a coffee shop that smelled like vanilla trauma. She brought a notepad and a voice recorder. I brought my printed screenshots, color-coded by Betrayal type. She asked, "Do you want to write it yourself?" I said, "God, no." She laughed. But she listened. And when I told her about the group chat, the pillow, the Google Doc, the voice call, she didn't blink. Just said, "Yep, that tracks." She wasn't shocked. She was angry. For me, that night, I lay in bed thinking about all the women who DM'd me over the last year, the ones with different versions of the same betrayal. And I thought, maybe this story isn't just mine anymore. Maybe I'm not the only one who got tricked into giving consent like it was candy. So I made a decision. I emailed the producer and said, I'll license it, but on one condition: the final scene belongs to me. She agreed. So I wrote it. A scene with a girl alone in her apartment, lighting a rosewood-scented candle, deleting the group chat, and hitting publish on a new post. Title: I'm not cool anymore. Because that's what it came down to in the end. I stopped trying to be effortless. And I chose honesty over charm. Dignity over detachment. Power over passivity. My therapist calls it growth. There's a myth that healing is loud. That it comes with fireworks, bold declarations, crying on tile floors with mascara tears. Mine didn't look like that. Mine looked like Sunday mornings in silence. Like full grocery bags I carried by myself. Like changing the bedsheets without flinching. No more rosewood lipstick. No more "how are we feeling" texts. Just me. Alone. Not lonely. When the show was greenlit, I didn't go to LA. I didn't want to be on set, or in the room, or part of any round table about female pain and poly betrayal. I let them handle it. I just gave them the final scene. The girl on her balcony, sunset behind her. Laptop open, cursor blinking, and then she closes it, walks inside, lights off. The end. No closure. No revenge monologue. No new boyfriend or better girlfriend waiting off screen. Just peace. Or whatever comes after the war. The show premiered under a different title, not unicorned, too niche. They went with open season. It did well. Too well. Just DM'd me again. No apology this time, just, I saw it, I wish I'd been kinder. I didn't answer. Brandon never reached out. I think he moved to Oregon, some wellness thing, a rebrand. I still get tagged in memes. Still get emails. Still get wedding invites from readers who say I gave them the courage to walk. I don't always respond, but I always read them. And sometimes, when I'm bored or lonely, I open the old screenshots. Not to hurt myself. Just to remember. To remember how far I've come from the girl who said yes when she meant maybe, who whispered sure instead of wait, who handed over her boundary with a bow. I keep one of the screenshots printed in my journal. The message Jess sent to Brandon. Told you she'd be into it. And right underneath it, in my handwriting. And now she's into herself. Because that's the win. Not the blog. Not the series. Not the followers or the podcast or the DMs that still roll in. The win is this. I choose me now. Every time. Loudly. Clearly. Without waiting to be invited into my own life. Looking back, I don't regret saying yes. Because that yes was a mirror. And it showed me what I'd been hiding behind. Coolness, compliance, conditional love. I shattered that mirror. And what's left? A girl with a spine, a story, and a scent-free pillow. So no, this isn't a story about heartbreak. It's a story about rebirth. And if you're reading this, wondering if you're being played, doubted, ghosted, opened up without consent, trust your gut. Then burn the group chat. And start writing your own damn ending. Subscribe to my Mia's Stories YouTube channel for raw, emotional stories and authentic insights that encourage healing, growth, and understanding. Don't forget to be part of a supportive space where stories inspire and lessons resonate. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. Your opinion truly matters to us, and we're here for you.